Welcome to ConvHERsations with Kristie, brought to you by Herverse, a community where women who lead, build, and grow come together. This is a space for real, unscripted conversations with bold leaders who are creating impact. No fluff, no filters, just honest insights to help you lead well and live fully. Because at Herverse, we believe leadership isn't meant to be done alone. I am confident you are going to love it. So let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode. I am so excited to have Chris Ronzio on today. Chris, I think we've probably been scheduled for this for at least 6 months, and the day is finally here. So it's exciting to have you on. Chris, would you introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, of course. Well, first I got to say thank you. And I love this virtual little living room that we're in. So thank you for having me into your universe. If I could throw a her in there. Also, I had pink shoes on this morning, and now I'm regretting that I'm not still wearing them. I wore them to the gym. So just imagine me with pink shoes.
I love it.
Let's see. So I'm Chris. I live in Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona. I run a company called Trainual. This is my third business. I've been married for 15 years, with my wife for 22, 23 years. I've got 2 boys. They're 7 and 11. I'm very active. I like running and doing marathons and triathlons and that kind of thing. And yeah, just having fun in business.
Oh, I love that. Well, and Trainual is actually how you and I met. We met at an EOS conference, and you were there exhibiting. And Trainual's, it's an exciting company in my opinion, because it really truly is taking the heart of what we need as second in command leaders, which is process, and creating that space for us. So I'm really curious, Chris, like how did this kind of evolve for you? I know you said this is the third company, but how did Trainual come about, and why is this a passion for you?
Sure. So my first business was a video production company. And in the video company, I started in high school. I ended up running it for 12 years. And by the time I sold it, we were doing events in all 50 states. We had offices in 3 states. We had over 300 camera operators. And the way that we pulled that off was we were remotely training people, crews in every city, on how to show up to a venue and do things our way, and how they would ship the footage back to the fulfillment center, and how they would, set up and bring things through the loading dock, and which venues had unions and which ones didn't, and how to run cables to jumbotrons. And so there's so much process, right? And so at the time I thought this is just, how we work, how we do things. And when I started meeting other entrepreneurs, I realized that the process piece of how we documented, how we trained, was pretty unique about my company. And so when I sold it, I started a consulting firm, and I was going business by business, building their operations manuals, their training manuals. And I would go in, I'd unpack all their workflows, their tools, their operations. We'd write out SOPs, we'd shoot training videos, and then we would show the whole company, like, this is how it works. This is how we're supposed to work. And so through that process, create a little software tool called Trainual. That's a training manual. And now over 10,000 businesses use it around the world.
Wow, that's really neat. I know every integrator heart is like, yes.
Yeah, totally.
That is exactly what we want in our companies, right? And
yes.
Why do you feel like processes are so important though?
Well, process is consistency, and consistency is scalability, and it is predictability for your customer. And so businesses work because customers get to know you and they have a predictable experience. And especially businesses that scale, you can't have the same person delivering the same service or the result every time. You have to start to create leverage. You hire other people, you open more locations. And where businesses really struggle is when the quality diminishes and suffers because they're not doing things the same way. And so I've seen a lot of people in service businesses that are like, I started this, but everyone wants to work with me. And when they come to my company, it's like, no, I just want to work with her. Or I just want to work with him. And it's so hard to take that off your shoulders and to hand it off to someone else and trust that they're going to be as good or better than you. And so a lot of us get held back by that belief. And I see process as the way to unlock that.
I love that. It really truly reminds me. I think most of us by this point have probably seen the McDonald's movie, right? Where I mean,
Yeah.
that's exactly what they did. In order for it to be repetitive and sustainable and scalable, everybody had to do it the exact same way.
Yeah. Yeah. And, some people have a knee jerk aversion to that. They're like, no, I don't want to be an assembly line and cookie cutter. And, like we pride ourselves in the craftsmanship and the attention that we give things. But at the core of every business should be a consistent, repeatable experience. And then you add the frills of customization and the unexpected nice touches and the personalization, but all of that sits on top of a repeatable process.
I love that. That's a great reminder too, because the core is what needs to be the same.
Yeah.
And then the fun stuff gets to be added to it. But but also what I love about what you just said too is it doesn't have to be rigid.
Yeah.
Right? You can still add the fun stuff in.
Yeah. So just an example here, like I think of, a marketing agency all the time, and, somebody is hiring an agency to come up with creative ideas that are unique to their business and to do maybe design work, like creating logos that resonate with their customers or packaging for their product. And of course, that's going to be different every time. The creative is always different, but the process is always the same. Like the way that you bring a client through discovery to figure out what their brand's all about should have like the same questions and the same length of a meeting and the same people in the room, and then once you figure that out, the way that you do the time boxed creative work, like you still have to get to an end result that's a proposal for that customer or a presentation for that customer, and so there are these milestones of process that help make sure that we follow the same routine, that we do this, give customers the same experience, even though the thing that they're walking away with can be very different every time.
Yeah, that's so true. I love that you said that. One thing that I've observed when we start talking about processes and things is our integrator hearts. Oh my goodness, they love this, right? This is what our hearts just like beat for. We get super excited about process. But I will tell you, I've heard a lot of pushback from the visionary side. And I would love, as two visionaries, what is your personal thoughts around, process? Is it something where it does feel more like the feedback that I've heard is it handcuffs me versus, creating processes is really truly about freedom, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I think processes aren't something for visionaries to adhere to. Processes are something that a visionary might create and have a hand in creating. But the people that use the process are the ones that you're leveraging to scale a business. And so every role in your company that becomes repeatable, that you have multiple people doing it, those are the roles that really need process. The visionary is like bouncing around from thing to thing and solving new problems and throwing new ideas and brainstorming and saying, well, what if we did it this way? What if we did? And that's innovation. And so you don't box a visionary up with process, because their role is never the same. Every day they're going to wake up and do what they're inspired to do and contribute in some unique way to the business. But visionary is not following the process. They're kind of a one of one. Whereas the roles in your business that have more people, like your sales reps, they need to be doing things the proven way. And your customer support reps, they need to be answering the same FAQs. And your technicians in the field, they need to be performing the services in the same way. And the people baking in the restaurant need to be making the dish the same way every time. That doesn't mean there's not an executive chef that's coming up with the next cool recipe. That's what visionaries do.
Yeah. Well, and for me, like I said, for me, it's not handcuffs. It really truly is freedom, because in order for me to elevate to be sitting truly in that visionary seat, I do need the team being able to execute the processes and my integrator to be able to take my vision and turn it into process that can be now done with the team. So for me, it's freedom.
Yeah, it's freedom. And it's also, very importantly, today's best practice. When you have a process, it's today's best practice. It's your current best practice. It's not your standard forever practice, right? Everybody's heard like, oh, I don't know, this is how we always have done it. And that's poison in a business. But you need a best way that you do it today. And then everyone in the company needs to be empowered and challenged to make a better way. And if
Yeah.
they can figure out a better way, then let's make that the new standard.
Yeah. How often do you encourage people to review their processes and update them?
In our system, the default's 90 days. And so people can set it to whatever cadence they want. But I feel like quarterly works really well. And that's what we use internally at Trainual is quarterly. And so every process has an owner, and that owner gets notified that, hey, go in, verify, make sure this is still the way you do it. And I think that works well. For smaller companies, you might even just use a trigger like every time I hire someone. And if you only hire someone once or twice a year, before you onboard that person, just take a quick pass through all the ways that you've written it down and make sure they're up to date.
I love that. I love that. I'm really, really curious. AI is something that is really, it is here. It is no longer a thing of the future. It is absolutely here and present. And I'm really curious from your standpoint, how is AI and technology really helping with processes now?
How isn't it? It's like it is everywhere. So for us, first, we use AI to help frame out your organization. And so based on whatever, industry you're in, whatever geography, however many employees you have, the AI can help brainstorm what are all the roles and positions in my company? What are the responsibilities of those positions? Because I've always felt like that's the table of contents for everything that you do. And so you need to have that first. And so once you've got the structure, which AI helps with, then you can start to document. And so AI, again, can help you create your first draft of any process. If you just prompt it with like, hey, here's the system we use for payroll, and here's the frequency we run payroll, and here's a couple of, bullet points, boom, it'll write the whole process on how to do payroll. And so it saves people like that first 50 to 80% of effort. And then you can go through it and comb through and say, oh, actually, let me tweak this, or let me put this custom step, or here's a little quirk of something we do. But it really gets you most of the way there. And then AI also is really important on the trainer side, on the trainee side, because people can learn just by asking a question. They don't have to go to their manager anymore. They can just ask our system or other systems, hey, how do I do this? And it will give you the answer because it's been put in there by someone.
Yeah. And the beauty of that is now you're being more efficient, right? The person is getting the time, their question answered quickly, and we're saving the manager from having to, take their time now to answer too. It's just more efficient.
Exactly.
I personally love it. But I want to reiterate what you said too, though, that AI is not the final answer, right? It gets you the first 50 to 80%, but you still have to have human eyes on it. You can't just expect AI to create your processes for you.
No. And if you don't put any energy or any custom knowledge into them, then you're going to get out what you put in, And so like, if you sat down and said, I'm going to write every process in my company with ChatGPT in the next 12 hours, then you'd come up with like a lot of vanilla garbage that doesn't really apply to your business. Right. And then you'd give it to someone and realize like, oh, this actually was totally useless. And so you really need to, make it valuable. You need to explain, this is how we do it, not this is how generally the world does it on the internet. That's what AI will start with.
Yeah. I just recently had a conversation with Ken DeWitt, who's my EOS implementer, and I've known him for almost a decade now. Oh, wow. That just kind of aged me there a second. I realized I've known him for a whole decade. But we were talking about ChatGPT too, and, AI and how to use some of these new technologies. And one of the things that I love that he said about ChatGPT is, Kristie, it is a college intern. It's not the final answer. It doesn't know all the things. It doesn't have the experience. It doesn't have the wisdom, but it's going to get you the first few sentences, the first few things that you need. It's going to make you think about things. And I just loved that analogy that ChatGPT is a college intern.
Yeah. It's kind of like, if you hire someone and you ask them to do something, but you don't give them any instructions, and then they go off and they might do something, but you're like, oh my gosh, no, sorry, I didn't mean like that. Right? Like when you ask AI to do something, it's going to do something. It's just like, is it doing the right thing? And so I think AI is most useful, for that first 50% when you're just when you need a thought partner and you need some structure. It's really good for that. And then it's really good, especially for visionaries, on like that 10 or the last 10 or 20% of super detailed stuff. You know, like if I need you to synthesize tons of information and read this like 400-page PDF and give me the gist of what's going on, I think it can actually do like MBA level work at that stuff. But it cannot do MBA level work, or it cannot do, you know, business owner level work at the stuff that business owners need to do to get out of the day to day. It's not magic in that way.
Yeah, it's not magic, but I will tell you, just like sometimes when we ask, like your example of, you know, sometimes when we have that college intern that's helping us out, and we're like, hey, do this. Sometimes they do it a little bit differently, or they add in that one thing that you're like, oh, wow, wait a minute, I've never thought about that. And so sometimes I've noticed when I'm entering things into ChatGPT, I love to ask the question, and what else? What am I missing? And sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, I never thought about it, or I never thought about it in that way. And it can actually contribute to the conversation pretty profoundly too.
Yeah. I remember over the summer, my brother and I were pinging it about just like future big, crazy business ideas. And we asked it something and it would give us an answer. And we said, no, go crazier. And then it gives us another answer. And it's like, no, crazier. And by that's doing it 6 times, it's like Trainual is the intergalactic ecosystem for how planets work together. So fun. If you keep asking it, it's actually fun what it produces.
It really can be. It really can be. And it can be, again, I think the biggest thing that people forget is they think it's that thing. You just put some information in and it spits it out. It still needs that human component to put those final eyes on it. Make sure it does say what you need it to say, that it's not just coming up with something. I think that's so important to reiterate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. What other ways are you using AI? I'm really curious.
On a daily basis, I mean, it started to become kind of my health coach and my fitness trainer. And I think that's a fun way to use it. So I've fed all of my blood work and doctor appointment stuff and everything into it. And then all of my workouts, and I'm preparing for the Chicago Marathon in a few weeks. And so for like the last 4 months, it's created every workout that I've done every day of the week. I have it, like I send it screenshots from my Apple Health thing on my phone. So it knows more about me than my doctor does. At my last doctor appointment, I actually pulled it up and I was like, here's what my AI assistant says we should talk about. And the doctor was like stunned. So I think there's a lot that we'll learn from, just how it can be our companion, our assistant like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
How about you?
I mean, I will tell you, a lot of people have been saying to me, like, I'm using it to generate, social media posts and different things. And I use it slightly different because I really want, things like that to be really my thoughts.
Yeah,
but
same.
I want to be able to to use it and say, here's what I'm thinking, but I'm not, it's not fully formed for me yet. How would you help me craft this? And so it's still my thoughts, my ideas, but it's just helping me expand on what it can be, and what I'm actually trying to say. And a lot of times I'll just run something through it and say, hey, like this, I'm not using the right words. Can you just help me polish this? And so it's just elevating me in a way. And I feel like with every time it does that, it's challenging me to grow and get better, because when I'm now writing things, I'm learning from it ways that it's elevating what I'm currently saying. Yeah. And so it's like every time like I'm elevating, then I'm pushing it and I'm like, elevate this, and then it spits something back, and then I'm like, okay, great, next one, let's do this. And I've already started the elevation from what it sent me, and I'm like, now you continue to elevate. And it's every time just growing me. So I find it really interesting that it really has become, I mean, like you said, it's a companion. As long as you use it in a appropriate way.
Yeah, sometimes I'll write social media posts and I'll post it into there and say, what's the counterpoint? Like, argue with me on this. Yes. And by it's almost predicting what people are going to say in the comments. And it's not that I want to make my version more universally accepted. It's that maybe I can strengthen my argument that I'm putting out there in the first place, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I do that kind of too, where it's like, I want to make sure that that my message is being clear. And so make sure, like, this is what I'm trying to say. Make sure the entire thing says this. And I love that. Tell me what I'm missing, and tell me what other people are going to like say to me. And
Yeah.
it's fun. It's really interesting to go back and forth that way.
Yeah, it's great for employee kind of conflicts, and if you've got multiple direct reports, or you've got something that's happening, and like we had someone that accepted another job recently, and I'm so excited for her and supportive. But in the moment, you're like, this is what I want to say, and it's nice to have someone as an in between that's like, hey, calm down there. Like that you can just sort of type things out and be like, oh, I guess I am really happy, and let me send this message instead. So
yeah, that can be very true. It can be a filter for us for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really curious, like, I mean, it sounds like yours understands your voice the way that mine does. And I've spent quite a bit of time really out, like, teaching it my voice. Have you done the same?
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
and because you can feed it all of your past articles and things you've written, videos about you. And so yeah, mine knows me. We've also done the same with Trainual. And so we have like a copywriting GPT that, like, when people want to write an email post or something, or announce a feature, they can put their text into this, and it'll like Trainualify the language. So I think that's a very smart use.
I do too, because what consistency now, because especially if you have 2 or 3 managers that are writing I can spit this out, writing processes and trying to train people. Now we can also say, hey, let's use this format. And now we have consistency across the board, even though 2 or 3 people who write completely different are feeding it into the same thing. And now we have the same consistent process.
Yeah, it's so good in that way. And so it's like we've got this incredibly powerful tool at our fingertips. But what I've noticed is that the people that were already good at delegating now can delegate to AI, because they're in our minds, we're thinking, okay, I don't have to be the one to do this. How can I use the tools, the people, the software at my disposal to get this done easier? And because we think like that, we're able to go to the AI and prompt it. And so if you look in my AI chat history, it's like, 74 things a day that I'm like asking it to do or to help with. And then you talk to someone else on my team, and they may have used it 3 times in the last 180 days, because they just don't think, how do I leverage AI? How do I delegate this? How do I get help with this? And I think that's the biggest thing that people need to come around to. That's like a social problem.
Agree. Because what I have found is that when I'm putting information in, first of all, the more information I put in, the more it learns about me, the faster it understands my voice, the better it understands my voice. And so now it can really truly be that assistant to me, be that right hand to me, to where I can plug into it and use it as a tool. But also it just makes me faster. Right? Like I can conversate with it and go back and forth and really be able to flush something out that, had I been sitting here doing it on my own, it probably would have taken me hours or, days to like really figure out exactly whatever it is that I'm putting together. But because I can use it as a tool, and we can go back and forth for 30 minutes, an hour, and it's flushed out. So it saves me so much time.
Yeah, it's good for research. I mean, I'm sure everybody's doing that, but like if I'm preparing for a meeting, I used to have to send my assistant or someone else a request and say, "Hey, can you spend, half hour, an hour just looking into this stuff? Let me know what you find and type up a little summary for me." And now I just I put that same request into the AI bot, and it goes out and finds it, and it's done in 7 minutes after some deep thinking, and I can just move on with what I'm doing. And so it's speeding up everything.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. And I think the thing that I love the most is it's helping people do the things that they love the most, right? Do our assistants love going off and doing research and looking up all these things? Probably not, right? But now we have a tool that can help us do it faster, and they can keep doing the things that they love to do. And so I don't know. I'm really intrigued by it. I'm really curious what you think like the future will be like with AI. What will businesses look like? What will leadership and management look like in the future as we continue to incorporate more and more AI into our lives?
I think people will be able to manage a broader amount of things. Like I think managers will have more direct reports probably, and they'll be able to give them more direct attention because they'll have some mental space to be able to do that, because the AI will handle all of the tough parts of synthesizing all the inputs and making recommendations. And so you can just focus on the person instead of focusing on all of the minutia. So I think they'll still be, still be managers. I think everybody in the organization is going to have to become a manager in some way, because it's going to be a major shift to roles and responsibilities. And the existing positions that do the existing set of things today may change, may speed up 5 times. And so if that's the case, either you're going to do 5 times as much work, or you're going to do 5 times as many different things, and you're going to have to get really good at managing all of these spinning plates in the air. And so I think there's just going to be a huge macro shift for people to learn productivity and delegation. And it's not just going to be for entrepreneurs and leaders anymore. It's going to be for every person in the company.
I agree. I think so many people are scared that it's going to take jobs. And in my opinion, I think it's going to elevate jobs. I think you're right. There's going to be a massive shift, and jobs are going to look different, but they're not going to be completely taken away. The human element will not be taken away.
Agreed. We need the human element to be happy and engaged at work, I think, but people will be able to do more. And so I think new positions will be created because so many new companies will be growing or starting, and there'll be new markets that open up. Like just as an example, 2 years ago, Trainual was only in English, and now Trainual is in like every language, because the technology has gone so fast that we can support any language, and the copy in your browser can be any language, and we can do customer support in any language, because everything's evolving and advancing so quickly. And so that doesn't create fewer jobs, that creates more jobs, because we still need people that can help do product marketing in those local areas and help adjust our pricing in those local areas. And it creates more opportunity, the more abundance. And so I think it will move jobs. We may not be hiring as many of the same positions we used to hire, but we'll be, like you said, elevating the people that are most equipped to take on more responsibility and have bigger roles and manage a wider spectrum of stuff. And I think that's pretty cool.
I do too. I think the future of business and what it's going to look like, I think it's still to be seen, but I think it's really an exciting time that we're in of this transition, from being so manual to now having all of these opportunities at our fingertips, because really, truly, I mean, it is at our fingertips. Anybody and everybody who wants it has access to it.
Yeah. A new world.
New world, that's for sure. Well, friend, listen, we could probably sit here and talk about AI and technology for days on end, but I want to make sure that we have an opportunity here to talk about and kind of round out our conversation with, as you know, honor, empower, and inspire. And these things mean so much to me. When I think about women in leadership and women who have made a big impact, I always like to look back and honor the women who have come in the generations before us. Who is a woman that you want to honor today?
Gosh, my mind immediately goes to both of my grandmothers, Helen and Terry, but I'll talk about Terry. So she, both of them have passed, but amazing memories. My brother wrote a book that we collaborated on a couple years ago, or last year, called Processes. It's about systems and processes, but it features a little cartoon hamster, and we named that hamster Terry after my grandma. And the whole story is about how Terry trains someone else to run the wheel and then the wheel turns into a ladder and she gets out of the cage and she goes out to the yard and sees all these other wheels out there and starts hiring the chipmunks. And it's a total incredible story, but it just makes me smile thinking about my grandma. And she always used to tell me as a kid, I would say things to her. I'd share my fun ideas with her and she'd say, well, that's an I good idea instead of a good idea. And so if I ever start like an investment fund someday, it's going to be called I good idea.
I love that. What a beautiful way to honor her in so many ways. I'll have to remember that. That Terry is a hamster and that's named after your grandmother. I love it.
Yep.
What about empower? Empower really for me is a woman of a current generation, someone who's in leadership or business today that either you hope to empower or that empowers you to be your absolute most. Who would that be?
That's got to be my wife, honestly. Like my wife, Leanne. So I've been with her since I was 17. So she's seen all 3 companies. She used to work at the video sales table at my video production company and then supported me over the years. And anytime I get really stressed out, hers are the arms that I can just collapse into. Oh. And I can sit down next to her on the couch and she can be my therapist and say like, what's going on? Let's make a list. Let's write it down. What are you going to do next? And I think to be strong, it's important to have someone you can be weak around. And that is my wife.
Oh, Chris, that was a huge nugget right there. What a beautiful way to say that. I appreciate that very, very much because I feel that very, very strongly. What about a woman of a future generation? Who is someone that you hope to inspire?
So this one, I'm going to be more broad and say the women that work at Trainual, we are today 51% female as a company. And I am excited that every single person here has stock and someday we'll have a big outcome. And we've already had people leave and start their own businesses. And I just can't wait to see how many future companies we're seeding here. And so that's who I hope to support in the future and invest in and empower in the future is the people that learn something here and then go create something in the world that they own.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Hey, listen, Chris, you are like the process person for me. I always look to Trainual when I need something. If somebody is wanting to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
LinkedIn is the best. So just Chris Ronzio on LinkedIn. I answer every message. I'd love to connect with you there.
Perfect. Y'all, this was a fun conversation. I really hope you enjoyed Chris as much as I did. And listen, he is a wealth of knowledge. And I can tell you firsthand, Chris always answers his message. So if you need him for anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Y'all have a great week and I'll see you again next week.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of ConvHERsations with Kristie. I hope you're walking away with a few nuggets of inspiration, maybe a new perspective, or just a reminder that you're not alone in your leadership journey. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, drop us a comment, or tag us with your favorite takeaway. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep leading with heart, and keep building the kind of life and leadership that feels true to you. I'll see you in the next